That sound, you know it instantly. You've heard it on shoes, on jackets, on blood pressure cuffs, 1,000 times over. But here's what almost nobody knows. This entire mechanism, now used on everything from spacesuits to surgical equipment, wasn't designed in a lab. It was copied directly from a weed. In 1941, a Swiss engineer named George de Mestral took his dog, an Irish pointer named Mika, out for a hike through the Alps. By the time they got home, they were both covered, burrs stuck deep in Milka's fur and clinging stubbornly to de Mestral's wool trousers. Most people would have just picked them off and moved on. In fact, most people had been picking them off for literally thousands of years without a second thought. But de Mestral wasn't most people. He was an engineer, and engineers ask an annoying question at exactly the wrong moment. Wait, why does this actually work? Instead of throwing the burr away, de Mestral grabbed one and put it under a microscope. And there it was. The burr wasn't sticky. It wasn't using any kind of glue or sap at all. It was mechanical. Hundreds of microscopic hooks, each one perfectly shaped to catch onto anything loop-shaped. Fabric threads, fur, hair, thread loops in wool. It was, in effect, nature's own hook and loop fastener, built by evolution over millions of years so burdock seeds could hitch a ride in any passing animal and spread themselves across the landscape. De Mestral had one thought. If nature already solved this problem perfectly, why not just copy it? Here's the part most genius inventor stories skip over. Having the idea was the easy part. Making it actually work took over 10 years. De Mestral needed a material that could form thousands of tiny hooks, strong enough to hold, but flexible enough to release cleanly when pulled over and over again without wearing out. The breakthrough finally came when de Mestral partnered with a fabric manufacturer in Lyon, France, and discovered something new to the world at the time: nylon. Under heat, nylon threads could be shaped into tiny hooks that held their form permanently, durable enough to open and close thousands of times without breaking down. By 1955, de Mestral finally patented his invention. He named it by combining two French words, velours, meaning velvet, and crochet, meaning hook. You'd think an invention this clever would be an instant hit. It wasn't. Early Velcro looked cheap, like scraps of leftover fabric. And clothing designers in the late 1950s and early 60s wanted nothing to do with it. It just wasn't fashionable. Velcro's first real break came from the most demanding customer imaginable: outer space. NASA discovered that in zero gravity, tools, pens, and equipment would simply float away unless they were secured. And traditional fasteners like buttons or zippers were slow and clumsy for astronauts in bulky pressurized gloves. Velcro solved it instantly: fast, one-handed, reliable, and reusable thousands of times. NASA used it throughout the Apollo missions to keep everything from checklists to food packets from drifting off mid-flight. Once people saw it working in space, it suddenly didn't look cheap anymore. It looked futuristic. Skiers adopted it next for suits that were easy to get in and out of. Then scuba gear, then shoes, then eventually almost everything. Here's what makes this story bigger than just one product. De Mestral didn't invent hook and loop fastening. Nature did, millions of years before he was even born. What he actually did was notice, ask why, and copy it. This approach even has a name today: biomimicry, solving human problems by copying designs that already exist in nature. Velcro is one of the most famous and successful examples of it in history. And it all started because one annoyed hiker didn't just brush the burrs off and forget about them. So next time you hear that rip of a Velcro strap coming undone, remember, you're hearing the sound of a 1940s hiking trip nobody planned on turning into one of the most useful inventions of the century. If you enjoyed this one, subscribe, because this channel exists for exactly this, the hidden history behind the things we touch every single day without ever asking why.